You have seen the image. A ghost of Sparta, skin ashen with the memory of his sin, scaling the sheer face of Olympus. He does not climb alone. He rides upon the very back of the earth, a colossal living mountain of rock and rage named Gaia. This, you have been told, is the War of the Titans, a brutal story of revenge. But what if I told you that this epic ascent is a lie? A powerful and brilliant lie, but a lie nonetheless. The true story of the Titans is not one of a mortal's quest for vengeance. It is a story far older, far grander, and infinitely more terrifying. It is the story of the birth of reality itself. To understand it, you must forget the video game. You must look past the avatars of lava and stone. We are not here to dissect a mortal's rage. We are here to uncover the divine fingerprints left by the first war in creation, a war that decided the very rules of the cosmos. This is the case file on the Titanomachy. Let us begin with the first deceit, the very nature of a titan. In the popular retelling, they are elemental giants, mountains given legs, oceans given fists. They are the siege engines of the ancient world. But the true titans, the 12 original children of heaven and earth, were not monstrous. They were divine. So divine, in fact, that if you were to stand before one, you might not know if you were looking at a titan or a god. They wore humanoid form. They bled ichor. They were beings of immense power and intellect. They were not merely big. They were the bigness of the universe. Consider Hyperion. In the game, he is a fiery behemoth. In the myth, he was the pillar of the east, the father of the sun itself. He was the very concept of heavenly light given form. Or Themis. She was not a screaming monster. She was the titan of divine law, of order, the very being who would later teach humanity the sacred rules of hospitality and justice. The Titans were not just brutes. They were the original operating system of reality. The sun, the moon, memory, the ocean currents, these were not things they controlled. These were things they were. So why would a war be fought against the fundamental forces of the universe? Why would reality itself need to be overthrown? The answer begins not with rage, but with a betrayal so ancient it happened before time had a name. It begins with the primordial mother, Gaia. In the game, you see her as a loyal grandmother, a protector of Kratos, leading the charge against her treacherous grandson, Zeus. This is a comforting human story. The truth is far more cosmic and far more cold. Gaia is not a character. Gaia is a stage. She is the earth itself, and her only loyalty is to balance. Long before the Titans, Gaia groaned under the tyranny of her husband, Uranos, the sky. He hated his own children, the monstrous Cyclopes and Hundred-Handers, and imprisoned them deep within Gaia's womb, in the abyss of Tartarus. The pain was unbearable, so she whispered to her youngest Titan son, Cronus. She forged for him an adamantine sickle, and she pointed him towards his father. Imagine the scene. Not a battle of armies, but a single horrific act of cosmic betrayal. Cronus ambushes his father. He takes the sickle, and he castrates the sky. The pact was broken, and with that single act, a new king was crowned. Cronus now sat on the throne of the universe, but the blood of a father is a potent poison. As Uranos recoiled in agony, he uttered a prophecy, a curse that would echo through the coming age. He warned Cronus that just as he had been overthrown by his own son, so too would Cronus be overthrown by his. And this is where the grand cosmic drama becomes a claustrophobic psychological horror. This is the story of the Devouring Father. The game shows you Cronus as a colossal wanderer, punished by Zeus to carry a temple on his back through a desert of lost souls. A magnificent image, but it misses the true terror of his sin. The myth is far more intimate. Cronus, the new king, The Titan, who now embodied the concept of time itself, was consumed by a single fear: the future. The prophecy of his father haunted his every moment, so when his wife, the Titaness Rhea, began to bear him children, the future Olympians, he did not imprison them. He swallowed them whole, moved from the cosmic to the corporeal. Picture this: a divine child is born. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon. One by one, the moment they draw their first breath, their father, the master of the universe, takes them into his hands, opens his maw, and consumes them. He wasn't just killing his heirs. He was time itself, devouring its own creations to prevent the future from ever arriving. This is the central horror the games cannot capture. The war wasn't born of Zeus's arrogance. It was born of a father's paranoia, a desperate, monstrous act to stop the inescapable march of destiny. But you cannot swallow fate. Rhea, heartbroken, finally saved her last child. She hid him away and fed Kratos a rock swaddled in cloth instead, a stone which he greedily devoured, blind in his terror. That child, of course, was Zeus. He was raised in secret, nurtured by the primordial world his father had tried to control, and when he came of age, he returned not as a son, but as a reckoning. He forced Kratos to disgorge his siblings. They emerged, not as infants, but as fully grown, vengeful gods. The board was set. The pieces were in place. The Titanomachy, the war of the Titans, was about to begin. And it was nothing like the assault on Olympus, you know. It was not a single furious climb. The myths tell us it was a 10-year war, a decade-long grinding stalemate that shook the foundations of creation. On one side, Kratos and most of the Titans fighting from Mount Othrys. On the other, Zeus and his reborn siblings fighting from Mount Olympus. For 10 years, the cosmos trembled, but neither side could gain the final advantage. This is the great turn in the story. This is where you must pull back the veil. Zeus realized that to defeat the old gods, he couldn't just fight like them. He had to unleash a power they had long forgotten. He journeyed down into the darkest pit of the underworld, into Tartarus, to the very prison where his grandfather Uranos had chained his monstrous children. He freed the Cyclopes. In return for their freedom, they gave him a gift. They forged the primordial energies of the sky into a weapon. They gave him the thunderbolt. He then freed the 100-handers, the Hecatonchires, beings of such impossible strength they could throw 100 mountains at once. He unleashed the raw, chaotic power that the old order had deemed too monstrous to exist. Do you see the irony? To establish a new cosmic order, Zeus had to embrace absolute chaos. The thunderbolt wasn't just a weapon, it was a symbol. The raw, untamed power of the Titans was like a wildfire. The thunderbolt was focused, precise, a symbol of a new kind of rule, one of deliberate will, not just elemental being. With these new weapons and allies, the tide turned. The Olympians stormed Mount Othrys, bound the Titans in chains, and cast them down into the same Tartarian abyss from which their allies had been freed. The war was over. A new age had begun. So we return to our central riddle. The image of Kratos on Gaia's back is a lie because it mistakes the purpose of the war. Kratos uses the Titans as a weapon for personal revenge. But the true Titanomachy was never about one man's anger. It was about the reinvention of reality. It was the bloody, necessary transition from a universe of raw, untamable, primordial forces, the Titans, to a cosmos of structure, law, and civilization, governed by the Olympians. The Titans in the game are tools for a mortal's rage. The Titans of myth are the rage of creation itself, the storm before the calm, the chaos before the order. Their defeat wasn't a tragedy, it was the moment the universe grew up. And that is why this story echoes in eternity. This myth is coded into our own history. It is the timeless allegory for the struggle of every new generation against the old, every revolution in science, every overthrowing of a corrupt empire, every time a new idea rises to cast down a dogma that has ruled for centuries. It is its own Titanomachy. It is the brutal, necessary and divine act of overthrowing a chaotic past to build a structured future. The war against the Titans never truly ended. It just became our own.